Hey guys, welcome to today's tutorial. In this video, let's go ahead and create a simple stylized cartoony Santa's hat here in ZBrush. This would be a perfect video for someone who is relatively new to ZBrush and you just want to kind of see what would be a process of taking basic brushes, basic shapes, and putting something like this together very quickly. All right, let's jump in and take a look. So to get started, I'm just going to grab a sphere, and what I'm going to do as my very first step is I'm going to bring in, so I'm going to insert a ring or a donut right into the same space. Then I'm going to go to move, and let's pretend like this sphere is going to be the head of our Santa. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this up, and this is going to be kind of like the rim of our hat, right? Let's go ahead and bring that up and maybe position it on the sphere, so something along these lines is perfect. Next, I'm going to grab this sphere, and we can duplicate it or we can use it for our top part of the hat, but let's go ahead and just simply duplicate it and just move it up. So I'm going to move it up, and another thing I could do is I'm going to jump out of my perspective view and just have a orthographic view. If you hold on the shift key, you can snap your camera straight on, and you can see right here that this is indeed straight. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my move brush, make it very large, and I'm going to turn on this AccuCurve button. Now if you don't have that on your UI, that's located under brush, curve, AccuCurve, so you can find that there. And I do have my active symmetry on because I want to find the center of this head, and I'm just going to simply pull this up. So essentially this is going to be kind of the top of my head, right? Okay, so once I have that, I can rotate it and see it from the side, and we can decide which way we want our head to bend. So in this case, maybe just to the side would be just fine. So I'm going to jump out of the active symmetry by pressing X. I'm going to go to move. I'm going to click on this little gear icon and click on bend curve. Now if I go up here to the orange cone, I can control the resolution of my curve. I'm going to initially just leave it at 3 dots, and I'm just going to take this top dot and just kind of drag it down. I can take this middle one and create more of a curve, and then you can see that's also messing up with my base, so I can of course adjust that too if I wanted to. If we needed to, we can also add more dots, right? Additional resolution, and maybe we can sculpt this even better by just moving this one as well. So something along these lines I think is pretty much perfect. Once you're done, there's a couple things you can do. You can click on the gear and say accept, or you can just simply click off and say draw, and that will kind of bake in the change that we did. Next, let's add a little ball at the end. Let's just grab this piece down here. Why not? Let's just be resourceful. We're just going to simply scale it the size that we like, maybe something along these lines. We can also position it and maybe make it just a little bit larger, right? So there you go. Now I do have this blob kind of peeking through my mesh, and let's say I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to draw. I'm going to hold on the Alt key and click on this blob here on the hat, and that's going to select the right layer. Now if I hold on Control and Shift, I can jump into here and I can get something like the knife rectangular tool. That's fine. Let's go ahead and just chop this off just like that, and that is much better. Another thing we can do is let's add a little more resolution to this piece here. So I'm going to hold on the Alt key and click on it, and then what I can do is I can press Control D a couple times. If I go into my geometry tab, I can see how many times I'm pressing it. So so far I subdivided it 3 times, and that's 32,000 points. If I wanted to do a little more, I can do one more. And the reason I'm subdividing that is because I wanted to add maybe a little noise to this part of the head, right? So to do that, what I could do is I can go to deformation, and let's just simply find something that's called noise, and I'm just going to simply apply it. So I'm going to go up just a little bit and give myself a little bit of a noise. I think that's great. All right, so we have a little bit of noise. If we render that real quick, PBR, we can see what that looks like. Let's do the same thing with the sphere as well. I'm just going to simply subdivide this a couple times, give myself maybe a little more geometry, And now I can simply add a little more noise there as well. If you start seeing little dots kind of flickering, right? If you ever have any kind of geometric issues after applying the noise, you can always re-dynamesh it. So for example, let's turn this up to something decent, you know, not too high, not too low. How about 256? And I'm gonna say Dynamesh, right? And it says, would you like the free subdivision? I'm gonna say no. And now you can see that that's maybe a little better. I can polish it, I can re-Dynamesh it, and you can see that kind of gets cleaned up. And we can do the same thing with this, right? I'm gonna hold on the Alt key, click on my hat, and I can go to my geometry. I'm gonna delete lower. I'm going to do the same thing, put this to maybe 256, do a Dynamesh, and let's control and drag to re-Dynamesh. We can polish it a little bit and do it a couple times to get rid of any kind of strangeness or dots or kind of missing polygons, right? All right, so now we're left to something like this. Let's just quickly color this as well, right? Now, before we color it, we could also add maybe just a little more interesting detail to the hat. If you have a folding brush, this would be a good example for that. If not, if you don't have any folding brushes, you can just do something as simple as a standard brush. And what we could do is, let's just simply, we'll do an add, and we can make it kind of small. And if we drag this, you want to make sure you select the right shape. So Alt click to select the shape. And let's test our brush and see what we're getting. So we're getting something like this, and clearly I need a little more resolution, right? So same thing, Control D. Let's go to like 572, that's fine. And let's maybe add just a little more. Let's mess this hat up a little bit because this is a material, right? So I'm gonna maybe do something like this. I can hold on the Alt key and maybe dig this in. Now I am doing this with my mouse. I'm not even using a tablet, and I'm not using a proper folding brush. I'm just using the standard brush. So for this to look like folds or be a little more interesting, I can always grab a pinch, make it a little bit larger, and just kind of pinch this in, and that will give me what I'm looking for, right? Holding down the Shift key, I can smooth this out. And let's maybe do the same thing. I'm gonna do the same thing maybe down here. Maybe let's just do a little folding action down here. Holding down the Alt key, I can kind of dig in. Again, same trick. If we want to pinch the sides, because we are not using a tablet, we can always do that really quick. And voila, right? It just adds a little more interesting something, right? We can do more, or let's just go straight into a color, right? So to do the color, I'm just gonna make sure that I'm on the right layer. I'm gonna select maybe something as classic as kind of a dark red, and we can select our standard brush. We can turn on RGB, and we're done sculpting, right? So let's jump out of the addition or subtraction. Let's just use RGB at 100% and just simply do a fill object, right? Once you fill your object, you can see a little brush shows up telling us that this is now painted. If we want to add a little maybe highlights on top, let's just do maybe a lighter red, make our brush a little bit larger, and maybe I want to dial this down to something like 20, and maybe I want to add a little highlight on top, maybe make it a little lighter. You can see how it's slowly giving us a little more control, right? So we don't want to overdo it and do it too much, but there you go. So you have something like this, so it's kind of a nice and painty. We can also turn this up a little more, make this a little smaller, maybe do something even more drastic just on the very top of it, right? Again, just kind of giving us a hand-painted look, if that's what we like, right? Very nice. Now let's do the white for the bottom of the hat and this bowl as well. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to go to simply select white and do a fill object. Let's go ahead and do that on both. So now we have something like this. Very nice. And let's go back into perspective view, take a look, see if we like this. Now, if you make your highlights a little too dramatic and you want to kind of clean them up, what would be the fastest way to clean this up? The fastest way is just simply selecting the shape one more time. And then if you hover over a color that you like, you can press C, and that's going to sample it. And now what you can do is you can just dial this down to something really, really low, like 10, right? And now if you wanted to make sure that your colors fit well together, you can just simply pump up the fill object, and you can see how it's going to start blending all these different colors that maybe you chose to paint, and kind of starts blending them in, right? Very cool trick. You can do that. And now if we do a BPR, there you go. We have our Santa hat modeled and sculpted. And if we wanted to, we can now turn this into a game model by simply doing Z remesher, and we can do our UV master to do UVs and bring into some substance painter if that's what we want. But for this video, I just wanted to show you a quick little workflow for making something as simple as a Santa hat. All right, thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next video.